Here are my 10 reasons my business is not a success, and I'm going to start with number 1. And I'm going to work to number 10, unlike traditional top 10 videos, I guess. So the first reason, which is paramount, is failure to set goals. That's pretty simple, right? As I was talking about the restaurant thing, you definitely have to set a goal. If you're working in a restaurant, that means I'm going to go deliver their food or their drinks. I'm going to grab some stuff on the way back. I'm going to come back. I'm going to ring somebody up. I'm going to grab some more food, go back out there, and I'm going to pre-bus. Pretty simple. I mean, you learn that in the restaurant industry. And if you are in the restaurant industry, don't get discouraged. Learn from it. So that's number 1, is failure to set goals. Write them down. It's paramount. Number 2 is procrastination. And I made a footnote, see rule number 1. It's because you failed to set a goal. A schedule is part of number 2. Procrastination / schedule. You have to have a schedule of some kind. You got these people that say you got to work 50, 60 hours a week to start your own business and be a success. I don't know if the proof is in the pudding. I know that there are people that do that, and I know that there are a lot of very successful people that do that. And they should be successful. If you're working 60 hours a week on your own business, you should be successful. If you're not, you should be questioning why. And that's what I'm doing today with my 10 reasons that my business is not a success. So let me just tell you a little more about it. When my father passed away, I inherited what he had a little bit. I have a brother. We split it. I could say that I'm very grateful that the situation worked out the way it did. I can tell you affirmatively that there is a God above, and you got to thank Him, and you got to be humble. I don't do this for exposure, success. It's not like I like getting in front of the camera. But if it can help you, then it's something that I can do as a good deed, as they say in the Bible. I like when they say in the Bible that when you're giving, you shouldn't make it a deal out of it. You shouldn't make a big deal out of it. Anyways, so going to number 3 is objective is not clear. So I can't see the forest through the trees if I don't know what the objective is. And I'll tell you right now, my objective is eventually just to have clients every day, and people that pay me for a service. But as many of you probably know, that being in the video, multimedia, graphic design, maybe you're in IT, maybe you're in something totally different, doesn't always work out that way. So number 4 would be self-doubt, and I made a little note there, see number 3, but self-doubt, not my first time going through this rodeo. You're always going to have people, especially your parents, you're going to have relatives, you're going to have, actually some of your relatives will encourage you Maybe even your parents will. Maybe your brother or sister. But a lot of them, more times than not, will probably discourage you. A lot of those people probably work regular jobs. It's not something that I'm foreign to. I've worked all my life since I was 17. Unfortunately, sometimes you're not employed, so it doesn't always work out that way. But self-doubt, that is a huge thing, but it is not as huge as rule number 1, failure to set goals. So then there's number 5 is lack of motivation, which I put a footnote there to see rule number 4, which is self-doubt, which of course go back to rule number 1. But lack of motivation, if you don't have a goal, then you're not going to achieve it. So you got to write your goal down. It's got to be a reasonable goal, and it's got to be an achievable goal. You don't write ridiculous goals for yourself. I'm talking simple goals, like what am I going to do Monday morning before I start the week. Number 6, lack of exposure. That is a side effect of all these things. If you don't follow the first rule, you don't follow the second, you don't follow the third. Lack of exposure, especially in a new market, you need exposure to achieve your goal. That is part of the circle. That is the part of the cycle of achieving a goal, is you need exposure, not just the tools that you possess, but you need exposure to the world around you. Number 7, lack of product. If you do a service, then you don't have a product to sell. It certainly doesn't hurt to have a product. So you got to be multifaceted. So selling a product could certainly help you, or as you might learn in like the financial world or sales, that residual income, if you know, I should say like pyramid scheme. Now it's not a pyramid scheme, but you know, if you have the rights to something and you sell it, every time you sell it, you make a residual on it. You're not making $10,000 on it, but you might make $1 maybe, or maybe you make just like 20 cents. But that's still money you didn't have before. So, and it adds up, and it's work that can be duplicated on the internet, for example, in a video. Eight, lack of contacts. So obviously that's a byproduct of the other lack of product, lack of exposure, lack of motivation, self-doubt, for sure. Those are definitely, that's a side effect, is having lack of contacts. People that you can talk to, that can help you out, that have mutual interests or similar interests, that you can help each other out. Number 9 is not using tools already available. So you already have a skill set, but you're not using what you already have. That's a byproduct of procrastination, not having an objective. And then idle time is the result of that. So you spend a lot of time doing nothing and not doing anything productive. And then number 10 is lack of vision. And lack of vision, I guess, would go back to number 3. Objective is not clear. Can't see the forest through the trees. So if you can't see the forest through the trees, then you haven't done number one, which is failure to set goals. So that's my list right there. Which, some of these I've addressed. Not all of them. Honestly, I haven't put a single ad out. I haven't put anything out. And mostly what I've been doing is just kind of building a foundation. And I'm kind of getting ready for the transition, I would say. My foundation was to address failure to set goals, although I need to improve on that. And that is why I made the schedule here. I'll show you that in a minute. But number two is procrastination. It's a big thing for me. It's not having a real schedule, besides not setting goals. The main reason I fail is because I procrastinate, because I don't give myself a time to finish a certain project. Or I'll have multiple projects and I leave one or two of them unfinished, and none of them ever meet a specific time goal. And number three, objective is not clear because you can't see the forest through the trees. I do have a little business model I made about this. That was one of the first things I did. I can see the forest through the trees, but as sometimes it gets a little bit cloudy. And four, self-doubt is probably one of my biggest things. Lack of motivation. Definitely. Lack of exposure given. You're not going to have exposure without the other five that I mentioned. Lack of product. You're not going to ever get a product if you don't do the other steps. So those are the steps. Just if you want to improve on them, just work on them in reverse. Figure out what your weaknesses are. It might be different for you, but this is mine. Write them down. But as I went over here, I addressed this a little bit, and what I did, just you gotta work in small steps. So I just made this little list here. It's just a basic schedule for me, so for my video production. So on Monday, I'm gonna write, research. I'm gonna ready for production, basically, but mostly writing and research. And then on Tuesday, I finish that up. I get the production studio ready, and then I get ready to shoot. If I'm ready to shoot, I shoot. No, I definitely shoot. And then on Wednesday, I finish shooting if need be, and I edit. Thursday, I finalize, I upload. So that's, just putting basic touches on everything. Friday, I start scheduling for the next week. I research and I plan, and I finish up any unfinished business from the previous week. And during the weekend, it's an option. I can write, research, edit, or shoot, and I pick one. So like, for example, if I'm going to go somewhere during the weekend and have a good time and I'm not going to work, but it's something maybe I want to do a video about, maybe I'll just bring the camera with me and I'll just record it. Or if I'm not doing anything, maybe say we're just staying home, we're doing yard work and stuff, maybe I find a little time and I write, or I do a little research, or I start preparing for the next week. Or if I have an unfinished project, I work on that. So those are my my things about it. And then, of course, starting this business, I could never think of a good name. And being in video production, multimedia, there's a lot of freelancers out there. So any good name you can think of is probably a dime a dozen. It's probably already been taken. Somebody's already using it. I always like to find something that's unique, which is difficult this day and age. And I couldn't think of any. So, but as my dad had a photography studios, just use my last name. So, as for named it after him. So it's called Ray's Media Studio, and everything is in-house. It's right behind me, right here in my little studio right there. We have a green screen. I have the lighting in there, and also I have very budget video packages available, which are start at $350. So if you're in the market, $350 for a half day, actually a full day, but half day shoot, half day edit, and it goes from there. But the reason I do that is because I don't use super professional equipment, not for my shooting. I do shoot HD 1080p. I don't do 4K. I can. It will cost you extra. I can do the professional shoots if you want. It will cost you extra. But those are my base products. Those are my base projects, packages, and that's why. Okay? Because I do have audio board. I do have multiple cameras. They're all HD. I have lighting. It's not the best. I prefer to do anything studio in-house because it's already set up, or outdoor shoots. But with a bigger budget, I can allow for all that stuff. But those are my base projects, and this is a startup, and I do work in-house. Everything I do is in-house. I do have a full editing media suite on board. I've done it professionally since 2005. I do graphic design, video editing, do motion graphics, animation. I'm not great at 3D animation. I do aerial photography, and I do typography, layout, you name it. Most of the rates are similar for those services. They might vary a little bit. But again, when you're dealing with a media company or a freelancer, you're paying for their experience, their knowledge, and their equipment. And what you pay for is what you get. We are based in Katy, Texas, west of Houston. Once again, the name is Ray's Media Studio. There is a website, raysmediastudio.com. It is not up as of yet, but you can email me at info@raysmediastudio.com. Thank you so much for watching.